You know, I love Halloween. It's the best time of the year, with everything spooky and all the games and movies and blah 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 blah. I actually found something for the spooky occasion. Hey! Oh, god damn it! What a bunch of little nightmares! If you wanted me to give you an example of quality over quantity, I would give you Little Nightmares, a game where you play as a little girl named Six and her adventures as she makes her way through the unsettling mall, a ship that's half restaurant and half hell. In Six's struggle to survive, she has to scratch and claw at every opportunity in order to escape and evade the creatures that inhabit the mall, as she slowly suffers an increasingly insatiable hunger. Little Nightmare plays with the themes of greed, gluttony, and childhood fears. Have you ever turned off the lights and ran up the stairs on all fours because you get this unnerving feeling that someone's watching you? That's the same feeling Little Nightmares gives you, especially with all these eyes plastered around the ship, watching your every move. You're always one step away from being caught. We all remember being a child at one point or another, and the feeling of being scared of the dark, or hearing bumps in the night, and we all had that thought that if monsters did exist, we'd be just as cool as Kevin McAllister in Home Alone. But the truth is, we was all just as vulnerable and defenseless as Six, and would end up smiling on the side of a milk carton. Six is tiny compared to the rest of the ship, even for a child, and she doesn't have many options in which to defend herself against the towering beasts that lurk around every corner. She's just a little baby. Aww. Ah, twat! The only thing Six has to aid her through her journey is her bright yellow raincoat, trusty lighter, and her wits. The majority of this game will have you sneaking and running away from the mall's most loyal servants, like the janitor and twin chefs, all while solving puzzles in order to proceed. By using objects to her advantage, Six is able to move through the ship with minimal effort, moving large objects to climb and get a higher elevation, or throwing smaller objects like toys and shoes to open doors. With Six being so small, this actually helps her in some cases. It doesn't only allow her to use things in the environment to her advantage, but the environment itself. Climbing bookshelves, dressers and drawers gives Six an opportunity to hide or escape whatever or whoever may be chasing her. But this is also one of the game's problems. Sometimes the controls can be temperamental, and some ledges can end up being your doom if you hit them in the wrong way, making you have to let go and readjust. If a shimmy was added, this would fix most of the problems I have with the climbing mechanics, but no, where you grab is where you stay. Even walking or running can sometimes be what does you in, causing you to fall off or completely miss something you were reaching for, making you plummet to your death, and this makes it super frustrating in some of the tighter areas where every step counts. In the areas it does work, it feels great, and Six feels like a real part of the world with the way she interacts and manipulates her environments. The simple gameplay is used excellently, and the intense situations Little Nightmares puts you in makes your very limited mechanics feel a whole lot more, especially when every room is as morbidly beautiful as this. Oh, look at you, you beautiful little bastard, you. We eating good tonight, boys! Speaking of beautiful, the mall is one of my favourite designed locations in games. Every room looks phenomenal. The way they slowly rock back and forth giving you this uneasy feeling of motion, and with every tier of the ship you travel to, from the depths to the dining hall, getting increasingly more disturbing, as it all keeps the same unsettling feeling of dread. Nothing ever feels right while looking at this place. The dark atmosphere looms over you as you make your way through the decrepit corridors, making you feel claustrophobic and anxious. All the furniture in these environments are at an angle, or bending, making the world not only a lot more visually interesting, but keeping to the overall feeling of uneasiness. Especially when body bags can be seen just before entering the kitchen, where the twin chefs spend their time violently chopping away at fish and meat as they prepare the meals for the guests above. As the chefs chop away, or the janitor lurks in the shadows, their animations never seem to be perfect. It's always just a little off, and this is a conscious design choice to make them feel off-putting. Even the gnomes have an unsettling animation as they scurry away into their hiding spots. These sad lost souls are the only thing on the ship that aren't hostile and spend their time hiding or running from the danger that surrounds them. They're skinny and frail to the point of being able to see their ribs, like the life has been sucked right out of them.
Oh man, they don't deserve that. Who'd hurt such a sweet little gremlin creature? Oh, shucks. Oh, they deserve to be cooked and eaten. Oh, shucks. Oh man.
The gnomes and statues are another big problem of mine. For being so hidden and even being pretty hard to find, they serve no real purpose. The only thing you get from collecting all the gnomes and smashing all the statues is a mask and seeing all the gnomes that you saved watch you as you climb the stairs at the end of the game. There's so much lost potential here, especially since the gnomes play a role in the overall theme of the story. I really thought that in some scenes you'd be able to change the gnomes' fates. I think one of the more shocking moments in the game is right at the beginning. You crawl through a hole in the wall and plummet into a room where there is nothing more than a chair and a pair of dangling legs through a broken ceiling. It's the first sense of death you get in the game, and it foreshadows what awaits you in the rest of the ship. Little Nightmares has a dollhouse aesthetic. With the side views and room-by-room level design, its presentation is very cinematic, with the camera being taken away from the player to pan and give a wide shot of certain areas as a glimpse of what's to come, although this can make some situations a little bit predictable. It envelops you with a greater scale of the world and the Maw itself, giving you a want to discover the mystery behind the machine and its inhabitants. I only just noticed this guy looking through the window at me, and needless to say, I shit myself. Six is the only one in this world that isn't like the rest. Her bright yellow raincoat makes her stand out against the dark environments like she doesn't belong, as well as making sure the player never loses track of her position. But I think the greatest part about all this is that it almost never takes full control away from the player. It makes you feel more involved rather than just watching a cutscene. The very few times it completely takes full control away from you is during the hunger scenes, where Six's urges take over and she just needs to eat as her world seemingly turns dark around her. Little Nightmare's grotesque design keeps you sucked in as you make your way through this hellscape of a world, invoking the same sense of fear and terror every deathly silent footstep of the way.
Silent being the key word there.
Little Nightmare's sound takes an approach that you might expect, keeping them more silent, using only the ambience of the ship and movement of Six and whomever may be lurking nearby. It's always terrifying to rush to a point, alerting the enemies and hearing their loud footsteps stomp across the ground as they get closer and closer. All the gory sounds of the hundreds of guests scoffing their faces as they endlessly eat makes you think how truly foul this place is.
But it's truly the silence that gets you. Like someone can creep up at any time.
While this game does have music, it's used sparingly, meant for scenes of importance or tension, and the implementation of certain instruments resembles the sound of a boat horn, adding to the setting. It truly adds to some of the more satisfying moments of tension, making your heart race as the silence is broken with the soft singing of children or the loud bass of a horn. While all of these elements are great on their own, they all come together as a way to push the narrative.
If you've never heard of this game before, I beg of you, please go check it out. Go play it, come back, because we're about to get into some heavy spoilers. Go on, I'll wait. I've got all night.
The game starts off with an enveloping darkness as you slowly creep closer to a woman wearing a geisha mask known only as the Lady. Six wakes up in the very depths of the ship, cold and alone. As she makes her way through the nursery, she comes across a room full of sleeping children, trapped here just like her, and this is where you meet the janitor, who is described as the man with long arms, with long forgotten things from a long forgotten place. He fled the world and found them more. Now as the janitor, he is a tall tale hiding in the shadows, stalking the silence, a monster alone. He is the children's keeper on the ship, watching over them, which is kind of ironic considering half of his face is covered up, leaving him blind, which only leaves his ears as a way of detecting Six. As Six makes her way through the janitor's lair, the first signs of her hunger shows its ugly head. Luckily, one of the children shares their meal, giving Six the strength to move on, but it's not long until her hunger sets in again, and this time, she needs something a little bit meatier. Being blinded by her hunger, Six is easily captured by the janitor and caged with a group of children, as one is taken away to meet their doom. Narrowly escaping the janitor and injuring him beyond repair, Six makes her way to the upper levels, where piles of body bags can be seen just outside the entrance of the ship's kitchen. In the kitchen, Six is met by the twin chefs, a pair of brutes with a love for violence and a feeling for meat. The twins were born to be chefs. As they shuffle across the cold floor, chopping, mincing, preparing the feast, the chefs sense something that makes their skin itch, a dirty and welcoming presence. Vermin will not be tolerated in the kitchen. These beasts live for the kitchen, violently smashing away while they cook what can only be presumed as the children the janitor was bagging earlier. If you pay close attention, you can see the twins scratch under their chin, lifting the mask that covers their face. But if this is the appearance the twins use to cover themselves, just imagine what horrors lie beneath. Six is forced to cautiously make her way through the twins' terror, climbing her way to safety and once again making her way upwards. For a brief moment we are given a glimpse of the outside, where we finally see where we really are, floating in the middle of nowhere without a chance of escape, while the hulking messes of the guests slowly waddle their way onto the ship. This is the first time we get to see the lady outside of Six's dream. She watches the guests as they are herded one by one to the feast. Full to burst, the guests are an essential part of the mall's life cycle. Herded into the large hallway, they slump into their bowing stools, and here they feed, without taste, without need, without end, and then they leave, one way or another. Especially Linda here, who I bet can throw some serious neck. Once they spot Six, their greed literally has them falling over themselves trying to grab her to be a part of their next meal. The uncontrollable urge to feed ends in a chase while the guests form a wave of bodies as Six barely survives. Bye, Linda. On the last stretch, Six's hunger comes back stronger than ever, and as she is offered food by one of the gnomes, she refuses, deciding to take the gnome instead, feasting on them, making her no better than the disgusting, foul, stinky guests before her.
What? I never said I was any better. Yeah, fuck off my back. Jeez.
This is when you make the last stop of your journey, the ladies' quarters, the one threat that's been looming throughout the entire ship. A watchful eye with graceful restraint, the lady casts the hypnotic spell that keeps the engine running. Amidst the chaos of the world outside, the mall is the only place that makes sense. And now this rumor of an escaped child threatens everything. Nothing can be allowed to interfere. The guests must eat. The mall must survive. This is the lady's home, and who knows how long she has been here. She's the captain, and just like all good captains, she must go down with the ship. Six alerts the lady to her presence, ending in a fight, where Six uses the only intact mirror to force the lady to look at her reflection, causing her to fall to the ground, where Six's hunger returns for a final time, as she bites down into the lady's neck, draining her of her power, resulting in one of the most satisfying endings in a game that I have seen in a very long time. This feels deserved, after all the horrors Six has been through, and all the time she was almost caught, just to walk right out the front door while the towering beasts collapse at her feet. It's all deserved. In the final scene, Six is sat outside, while a horn from another boat can be heard in the distance. Full of more guests, Six can enact her revenge on. Little Nightmares is a great example of show not tell, and gives the player just enough context to understand what's going on, but there are many theories that surround the deeper meaning and reality of what's really going on here.
And by Jove, I'd be a fucking idiot if I didn't take the time to show you how swole my brain is with all these conspiracy theories up here.
Here's what I think. The story of Little Nightmares is about the food chain of life. The ones at the bottom feed those at the top, and Six breaks this cycle by refusing to submit to those more powerful than her. The children are farmed like cattle to be cooked and fed to the guests, while the lady feasts on those who enter her domain. The guests must eat, and they leave one way or another is a clear indication that the lady is using the guests to fuel them more and preserve herself. The lady casts a hypnotic spell that keeps the engine running. She is a vain woman and can be seen multiple times grooming herself in front of broken mirrors. She obsesses over her appearance, just like the rich, and from the look of the ship, it looks like it's been around for some time, meaning the lady is a lot older than she looks, and this is why she wears the mask, to hide her true appearance. While in the lady's bedroom, we can see a picture of a little girl resembling Six with the face scratched out. This could mean that Six is actually the daughter of the lady, and because of her youth, the lady casts her aside, fearing that Six may be prettier than she is, envying her. This would explain why Six has this hunger, the need to feast, and why she decides to attack the innocent gnome that was just trying to help. It's the same hunger her mother has, the need for preservation of power. Even the same black magic the lady has forms around Six as she eats, as a shadow watches with a striking resemblance to Six. This could possibly be Six's physical manifestation of her desires. This happens in all scenes but one, the final feast, where Six finally gives in and lets her urges take over as she absorbs her mother's powers. It's about those at the bottom taking revenge on those at the top, while slowly becoming more like those they despise. The cattle become the farmers and the meat becomes the chefs, resulting in the cycle being reborn anew. Although it's not perfect, Little Nightmares is a great horror game that expresses its story in a very interesting way, with exciting moments and tense situation that only spans over a couple of hours. Six's adventure is one to remember, with secrets to be uncovered and mysteries to be solved, like who's the hanging man, and why is he the only one that looks semi-normal in this world, and what are the gnomes, and why did they decide to help Six in her journey? It's all just waiting to be discovered, one way or another. One more thing caught my eye as well. The lady's bio says, amidst the chaos of the world outside, the moor is the only place that makes sense. If this is what makes sense, then what the fuck is the rest of the world like? Lucky for us, this isn't all there is of Little Nightmares. With DLC, prequel comics, a mobile game, and a sequel, there's a lot more to explore here, and this won't be the last time you hear me talk about the moor and the world that is Little Nightmares. And with that, I think it's about time I get going. I hope you enjoyed, and happy Halloween.